just an unwritten rule in lesbian period dramas that there will be a scene of one woman unlacing the corset on another woman. That is the law. That is the law. Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video I just wanted to talk about the series The Confessions of Frannie Langton. There will be huge spoilers in this video, so this is your warning. This is your warning, and you had better heed it. So if you're not familiar with The Confessions of Frannie Langton, it's about a servant and former slave who is accused of murdering a plantation owner and his wife. Moving from the Jamaican sugar fields to the streets of Georgian London, this series explores one woman's haunted fight to tell her story. It's also based on the novel of the same name by Sarah Collins, who wrote this book with the desire of reframing the depiction of black characters in historical fiction. Collins has said, "My lifelong irritation with the depiction of black characters in historical fiction as nothing but victims of that institution was the reason I'd written the novel in the first place." And I have to say that straight away I noticed that this series had a very different tone and energy to the many other period dramas that I have watched. And I think it's directly correlated to the fact that the dialogue and narrative in this show is crafted through a black female lens, with a conscious intent of reframing black narrative, which makes it stand out against a lot of other period dramas. It was really refreshing to follow the story of a black female character within this time frame, because it's something that we so rarely see on screen, despite the fact that black women very much make up a part of British history, just a part that's often swept under the carpet. So in my opinion, Karla-Simone Spence carried this entire production. She acted the house down, and I'm not just saying this. If you watch this series, you will see it for yourself. She deserves an award for this role. I mean, my mind was just, it was blown. She has such an incredible emotional range that is just like fascinating to watch. And the character of Frannie Langton goes through the whole spectrum of emotions in this series. And Spence delivers in absolutely every single scene. I mean, like, it's just insane. But moving on to the lesbianism, I thought Carla and Sophie had a lot of chemistry. I very much enjoyed their scenes together for many reasons. For many homosexual reasons. Oh yes. Both of them were very committed to their roles and to playing out this very kind of turbulent, tragic love affair that never really stood a chance, and like all the pain that comes with that. The lesbian aspect in this show is complicated because of the time in which they were living in. And of course, lesbian relationships have existed and in some cases thrived all throughout history, but socio-economic factors would have played into the stability of those relationships 100%. And even then, those relationships would have still faced a lot of hurdles. So even though I loved the two of them together, I knew it wasn't going to be like light and frothy. And to be fair, the first episode pretty much like crushes any romantic dreams before they even begin. But even still, I love just how organic their romance was, because that's exactly how it would have been in real life, you know? So this series is very firmly rooted in trauma, female trauma, black trauma, lesbian trauma. And what I appreciated was The Confessions of Frannie Langton portrayed how people never stop processing their trauma, and instead they learn how to live alongside it. They learn how to navigate it. Obviously, because of the period in which this series is set and the fact that they're following a black female character, the series both shows and tells the horrors of racism and social inequalities within that time period. But what's interesting about the way way that this series explores the layers of racism is it portrays how Black people themselves were coerced and forced to participate in the oppression and harm of other Black people, specifically through white supremacy, which is something that is less explored on screen when it comes to looking at racism within society. And this series explores the impact of that, as well as the casual day-to-day racism that Black people were and are subjected to, the trauma that causes, and the inheritance of all the sexism, racism and classism that Black women had to and still do endure. That said, whilst this show is very much rooted in trauma and centered around it, the character of Frannie Langton is not defined by it, and that's the whole point of the series. Frannie also talks about moments of joy, moments of love, moments of connection. She's a completely fleshed out character who explores both positive and negative emotions and interactions with the people around her, which in my opinion is unique when you're looking at historical fictitious slave narratives, because a lot of creators will just focus solely on the trauma, which is of course understandable, but that's not always the complete picture, and often the lives of minorities were not defined by their trauma or by their oppressors. People still found joy and love even under extreme oppression. And this is not me saying there's a right way or there's a wrong way. This is purely just kind of like observational, because from watching this series and really thinking about the other historical fictitious slave narratives that I've watched, it's purely just observational. And it's interesting to see trauma and oppression reframed in such a way on screen. On a personal note, I have to say the very first episode of this series had me shook. I did not see that death reveal coming. There are so many twists and turns in this show. And the beginning of the first episode just does such a good job of like hooking you in. I don't remember the last time I watched a show and like felt like that. I did not see it coming that Frannie had killed George Benham. Like, I thought my girl was innocent from the get-go. I was like, no, she's innocent. And then it came out that she'd killed him, and I was like, damn, okay. I still support her. I support women, you know, I support women. So I don't really have any real criticisms for this show. It gave me a lot more than I was expecting it to, and in terms of things like production and more technical aspects, I think overall it's pretty solid. I felt like the dialogue, and more specifically the monologues, could have maybe been repackaged to make their point more absorbable. But that's me splitting hairs. I mean, that's just a very small like criticism, and I myself am very guilty of like writing dense monologues, and yeah, so no shade or anything. So yes, overall I very much enjoyed this series. I absolutely think it brings something fresh to the table, especially as a lesbian period drama, and Karla-Simone Spence is just mind-blowingly good. I mean, she is just like a lesson in acting. She is just fascinating to watch. Seriously. Okay guys, if you've seen the Confessions of Frannie Langton, let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. If you want to support lesbian content and women's voices, come and join the Sapphic Underground Club. Just come and join it. Don't make me beg. Oh my god, don't make this sexual. Or do. No, don't. Don't forget to subscribe for instant disappointment. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.